Hello and welcome to the Dice Tower. I'm Wendy Yi.
I'm Chris Yi.
Today we are going to be reviewing Bazaars of Ubar. This is by Gray Fox and Tim Armstrong.
Do you want to feel like an airship captain flying around the world with goods?
Yes.
You're not really going to feel that too much in this game, but it is an interesting. It uses a bit of a time track, or as Tom Vasel calls it, the ratchet. So I was interested in it.
There you go. In that case, let me show you how it plays. This is the Bazaars of Ubar. In this game, you're trying to earn the most money. You do that by collecting goods after putting these tiles out and eventually trading them in at these different market costs right here. On a turn, you will draft a tile. These tiles have a cost, so the cost is in time, and that is what this time tracker is over here. So you will move spaces based on the amount of these little hourglasses on the tile as well as adjacent to the tile. So for example, this one right here is 1, 2, because these adjacent tiles do not have any currently facing towards this tile. So this one will cost 2, you'll draft it, you'll take the ability that is on it, and then you'll set it somewhere on your tableau. Now, this little yellow circle right here only activates when you place the tile, whereas the bottom abilities can be activated in the future. This one right here, this trade wind, says activate 2 tiles that are left of this. So I will activate this one first and then this one second, just the bottom abilities, not the yellow ability in the middle. Players continue taking turns until the end of round tracker has been reached by all players. When this is done, then you're going to go ahead and sell anything that you want to from your boat for the market value that is shown on the card. So we've got round 1, round 2, round 3. As you can see, some are in red, some are in green. That just means that some are worth less than usual and some are worth more than usual, whereas the yellow lines are the typical price. You also will refill this tableau. The actual tiles in it will get cheaper as you buy them because there will be less adjacent timers that are going on there. So when you go ahead and refill everything from the deck, it will make everything a bit more expensive as it goes. So you'll continue playing. We've got round 1, round 2, and round 3. There are some spaces after round 3, and that literally is just a tiebreaker. It doesn't really matter unless you happen to have a tie. But you'll go ahead and once again sell all the goods that you want to. Of course, at the end of the game, we hope you sell them all, and then the person with the most money wins.
I made fun of the theme a little bit. I like this theme. I like the look of it. I like the idea that they kind of leaned into it, even though it doesn't truly feel airship captain-like and all that stuff. But
it's funny because I was like, oh, that's the theme? That is the theme. You know, that's how I felt about it.
It makes more sense when you see your dirigible board in front of you. It is a game that is a few different little pieces, right? You have the tile draft, you have the Tetris-y thing. I'm just going to go ahead and say, I think the Tetris part is like my least favorite part.
That's the thing, is I tend to like those polyomino Tetris-y things, and literally it's like, does it fit in the ship? You know, we could just be counting squares. We could just have a number on each thing, and you're just like, add up to 27. It's all you can hold.
It's not a bad way to represent not having too much, but also I feel like it's almost hard to have too much. You know, it's a small...
It depends on the game.
Yeah.
It definitely depends on the game.
It does, yeah.
The way those tiles come out. That particular tile draft in the middle, the way that they get cheaper depending on what tiles are next to them, I find that more intriguing in theory than in actual gameplay. Every tile has a specific amount of cost timer things on them that you have to spend. But then the fact that it happens to be next to an expensive tile or an inexpensive tile, I don't really see how that affects the usefulness of the tile.
That is one of the hard things. It is fairly random. That being said, I like it. Like my favorite part is after you take it from the lineup and then triggering the stuff. But yeah, you're right. The actual intrinsic cost of each tile, it's odd that that's fairly random just because it happened to be next to the thing that shows the hourglass.
Right. There's like a baseline cost, but then it just happens to be more expensive, less expensive.
Also, you might miss it from time to time. Like, I'm going to take this one for 2 time, and someone's like, that's 4 time because the 2 above it and below it.
Yeah, you didn't notice that those were there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, that's not a 4-time tile. Let's be clear, right? So do you take one of the ones that intrinsically has more cost on it? Or,
I think the reason why using that time as the income is weird that it's so random in that sense is because there's not a lot of time on the time tracker. Like, I was very surprised playing the game. I was like, oh, I drafted a few tiles and now we're already resetting everything. There's not time to really whittle down that board. Obviously, with more players, you whittle down more than with fewer players. But it's just, yeah, it was one of those that I was like, huh, this is interesting. It felt too short to really feel like I was doing anything between each round.
It's a good mechanism with a very short amount of time that it can really impact the game. Like, you take 2 or 3 tiles, that's probably your whole round. But I do really enjoy, I really enjoy putting the tiles into my grid in front of me.
Yes.
And activating the tile and the bonus. It's a little confusing. You activate one part of this tile, and then you do the directional thing, and you activate a different part of the other tiles. But it's not bad. And once you get into the groove of it, that part can be pretty great.
It can be, and I think that's it. It feels like you're building an engine, but in many ways, you're only sort of building an engine, because max those tiles are going to be triggered off as like three, maybe 4 times. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not going to trigger the same tiles very many times. And then it all depends on what comes out in that lineup. And if you can afford what's in that lineup, and if it's worth the cost, you're like, ooh, sweet, this will trigger my whole engine. And it costs 5 timers. Like, oh, it's really expensive. Like, that's my whole round. Is that worth it being my whole round? No, it's not.
Right. And then you have that randomness of, will you be able to trigger off the engine that you've kind of built up sensibly? You're like, mixed with the randomness of the cost of the goods in the market.
Right.
And there's a way to do variable cost of good, or variable price, right, as a reward as well of goods in the market. And maybe it's everything about this game is so slight. Mm-hmm. It's not that long, which is often a good point, but it's one that I wish there was a little bit more time to enjoy the meat of the game. Because when you flip over the market card, or when you reveal the market card that says, this good is worth 1 coin less this round, and you're like, that's what I'm built up fairly well for.
I mean, luckily you know ahead. Like, you know all those cards, so you can plan ahead, and you're like, okay, we're going to have the rugs being worth a lot this round and not at the end of the game. Like, I want to sell them or trade them. Like, I get that, and I appreciate you can see ahead. I would hate it. I would hate if you flipped over that card and were like, well, that's what you get this round.
It's true. You haven't laid out face up from the beginning, so you know. But yeah, just there's times where you're looking at it and you're like, well, I will never get magic lamps because they're going to be worth nothing, I guess.
I feel like those cards are fine. I feel like I'm okay with that market. That some things are more, some things are less, depending on what round you're in. I'm totally okay with that. I don't feel like it's amazing. It's not very dynamic, but I don't mind it. I think that it does change the value of the thing so that they don't have just an inherent value.
Okay, that's fair.
Through the whole thing. Yeah. So overall, I really like the tile part. I think that is the most interesting, is the laying out your tableau of tiles, trying to trigger them, trying to not trigger ones that'll mess you up. It's interesting that in the rulebook it says that you have to trigger everything. And so sometimes you're like, wait, I can't put it there because then that's going to get rid of all of the tiles I was going to trade in this round for points. It's going to get rid of them. So I don't want that now.
Yeah, it's a little bit tight.
There's a little bit there, yeah.
Yeah. Score-wise, for me, I'm coming in at a 6 on this one. The parts that I do like about it aren't enough to make me say that I could really recommend it when there are enough parts of it that I think are just odd. The Tetrising part, for me, the market costs, it doesn't really speak to me. But if you are looking for something that's not too big, this is a slight game. And that's one of the other knocks that I have against it, is that I can see myself kind of forgetting about this one completely. But that doesn't mean it's bad. So it's a 6 for me. I think it's fine. And I think that there will be people who really enjoy this one. So just not me.
I'm going to give this a 6.5. It's got some good thinky moments. For being such a quick game, like I feel like you and I sat down our first time playing and we knocked this out in 20 minutes. Even though we were like, I don't understand like what tiles I can pick because there's so many hourglasses around. So I feel like even with all that thinking, it was a quick game. And that's what really bumps it up for me, is just simply the time. Like, this is a quick game. At the same time, it is lacking in some of that meat that I want from being able to really enjoy that bit of engine that I'm triggering, to be able to build a little bit bigger of a tableau, trade some more stuff in. So I wish that there was a little bit more there. And at the end of the day, I do just feel like those tiles that come out are just, I don't know why this one costs 3 extra just because the tiles around it, whereas normally it only costs 1. I think it's just one of those things that, meh. So at the end of the day, I feel like it's fine. I feel like this is fine. It's slightly above fine because it's quick. And so 6.5, that's what you get from me.
Slightly above fine. All right. Well, there you go. Thanks for coming out to another review here on the Dice Tower. Hope that was helpful for you. Until next time, my name's Chris Yi.
I'm Wendy Yi.
Have fun being a space captain pirate. Sky captain pirate.